This is the tutorial movie for Guide 7, and I'm going to try to get through this as fast as possible. If I have to break it into two movies, then so be it. But to get right into it, it says to actually hit Command N and to make a new file. In the new dialog box right up here, you can put in tabloid right there and 11 by 17, and the number of artboards, which I think is a very cool addition to Illustrator for CS4, is 1. It's going to default to custom as soon as you say tabloid. Make sure you're on landscape, not portrait, and that your units are in inches, and just click OK. On this blank file, which I'm going to fill into the middle of the screen here, I'm going to go now and save it immediately to my folder. So I know that my folder is going to be, I'm going to save this as Brian Example Guide 7. And I'm going to save it right into my student folder where all of my pictures are and everything is, so we will have no problem in going to open this up. And I'm going to save it so that everything gets linked. I'll create a PDF compatible file, and we're going to get all ready for this. Now I have already gotten, if I hit the tab key, I have already gotten the two files open that you need to see, and I'm going to go to the Viper spread ad, and I'm going to show you my actual Viper spread ad, plus I have redesigned and redone to the CS4 capability the new Guide 7 PDF. This is exactly what the PDF is supposed to look like. The file is supposed to look like when you're finished. And I'm going to go to the new file and turn things on and off, or the template file that I had given you as an example, and show you exactly how you are to do yours. So I'll refer to this if I have to, but you refer to yours, and I'm going to try to go through the numbers and tell you what number I'm on as I'm going through it. So let me minimize that one, click back to this one, hit the tab key for my layers, and let me just go into my headline and show you I have a big and brutal headline right there that I'm clicking on and off, and then I have a B&B shadow, which is the big and brutal shadow. Inside of the subhead, it is simply a luxury sports underneath. Everything is aligned via the transform palette. So let me turn off the headline right now and the subhead. And then let's go to the drop cap and flip that off down there, and you'll notice that the top of the drop cap aligns with pretty much the top of that horizontal guide. And now the pasted text, which is off to this side right there, is just its own layer, and it's just nice and safe and put away so that you can keep it separate from any other layer, and you can turn it off and on in the visibility. In the body text, I have two sets of body text. I'll unlock them both. This one, which I don't know why it's not named, this one is the body text on the right. So I'll just double click it and I'll say on the right. And this one is the big and brutal body text, which is right there, that follows the drop cap, okay? And that one's got specific settings, so does the one on the right. And now I'm going to go turn off everything here so that you can see the guides. After I just hit the guides, the guides have their own layer, and that's cool because you can lock up guides separate than going to view guides lock, okay? And let me go to turn on the shapes and graphics here, and the shapes and graphics have their own separate very key element here. I have a solid color group, which is the ones that I'm turning off and on, where you cascade a gradient through them all. And then the other ones, the ones I get from Guide 2 that you have done, I'm going to split those and call this the top right group, the bottom right group. I'm going to call this one the top left group, and I'm going to call this one the bottom left group, and then the GTS in the back, which is the faded one that matches exactly up via the transform palette. So let me turn everything else back on, because I'll probably need to see everything when I'm finished, and let's go ahead and start this assignment. Again, I hit the tab key so that I can get right over to my new one, which is the Brian Example, and let's start right away by hitting tab and knowing that I only have one layer. Now I'll probably compress this up at any time. Now that I've named it and I've examined it, I've completed steps 1 and 2. Let's go to step 3. You have to make sure that your rulers are visible. Now I'm going to hit Tab and Command R for rulers so you can see my rulers on the screen are lining exactly up to 0, 0 being the bottom. If you notice there on number 3, the bottom left-hand corner is where 0, 0 has to be. If somehow you have misplaced by taking and grabbing this corner and putting it somewhere else, or if somebody else did, just double click in the corner and it'll reset your 0, 0 to the exact right mark. Now that we have done that, let's go to our layer palette, which is F7, and I'm going to name it Guides. And as I name it Guides, it says just drag a vertical ruler and leave it anywhere on the screen. Okay, now all we have to do is make sure that guides are not locked, so I make sure there's no check mark there, and I'm going to hit the transform palette so that I can just have the transform palette, which is Shift F8, and I'm going to now let you see, if you can, from even though the movie's small, it wants you to actually make sure that and I'm reading, it wants you to make sure I'm going to just assume to myself that the center proxy is the one that needed to get selected, and I'll know in a second. I want this guide to shoot to the 0.25 mark. So if you think of what ruler this is, let's go to X at 0.25. It doesn't matter what the Y ruler is, and now that guide shoots to 0.25. The next guide I want you to put in and just let it just go anywhere on the screen and go up to X and then make it go to 8.5. Hit the return key and grab another one, and now just let it go anywhere on screen, and then 16.75. Hit the return key and now drop a horizontal ruler anywhere on the screen. Now you have to ignore the X and go to the Y. So this one says 0.25. Let's go now throw another one on here. Leave it selected or just don't touch it. Go up to the Y ruler and go to 5.5. Let's go now to pull another one off, and the next one goes into 10.0. And if I make a mistake, I'll just simply say I made a mistake, and I'll go try to take the time to correct it. Let's go pull this one off now, and the last one goes into 10 point, whoops, sorry. My fingers are fat. I don't want a symbol. Let's go to 10.75. Okay, now I should have all my guides in there, and when it's finished, I am going to lock my guides layer. Save the file and keep on going. Step 4, but you need to create a new layer, name it pasted text. So let's now go to a new layer. So I hit the new layer button. Let's name it pasted text. I'll worry about the layer stacking order in a few minutes. So pasted, whoops, that's not how you spell pasted, Brian. Pasted text, and now let's go to, I ask you to, whenever you create a new layer, please refer to the finished layer palette, okay? Go to File, Place, locate your student folder where you're supposed to get stuff, and I'm going to go to right here where it says, that's actually my folder, I'll go to the student folder, and it says Viper Body Text. Now it might not paste in exactly like it pasted in on my other one. I'm going to leave all of this alone right there. And let's make sure, place, headline, okay, use the selection tool and expand it. Okay, so let's go to here. Now, when it pastes in a second, let's put it over to the side. And I'm not going to worry about how wide it is, because that's just how it's pasting in the new one. Let's just leave it like this, and let's make sure that we can get close to it over here, and let's read. Use the selection tool, expand the Viper body text to make sure that all the text is visible, create a new layer, and name it headline. Okay, let's go to headline right now. So I double click it. Don't lock any layer except for the guides layer. And in headline, oh, I can't stand that green. Sorry. Let's go to blue. And because you won't be able to see it on screen. And now in headline, let me not move the text up to there, but let's go select and copy big and brutal from the pasted text layer. Now here's the key. I hit the T key and I'm going to go up and get the big and brutal. Make sure you only grab exactly from the B, as I am doing, over to the L. Do not grab that extra space. It'll truly mess up your transform palette. So let's go Command C. Now let's go down in size. Let's force this over to here, down in size, so we can see this on the screen. And let's click away from it. Make sure we click up to the headline layer. And it said, I tell you should get used to locking and unlocking as needed. That's fine. I could lock up the pasted text layer just to make sure I don't touch it. Make sure the headline layer is selected and paste the text at the artboard. Deselect the headline for now. Now what I want to do is I want to click with the text tool, not drag a box and hit Command V to paste. Now I have the Big and Brutal way up at the corner. I'll click away from it and let's go on to step number 7. In order to keep on going, we are going to make 2 new color swatches. So I'm going to click and hit the Tab key to get everything back on screen. Go to my swatch menu, which I had conveniently placed, and let's go to New Swatch. You know what? I have to make the fill come to the front in order for New Swatch to be active. That was very good, and I'm glad that it actually grayed itself out a second ago because the stroke was in the front. So I have to have the fill in the front to go to New Swatch. If you turn the page, you can see that the first one is Viper Dark. So I'm going to go to Viper Dark, name it Viper Dark, and my numbers are 82, 75, and 0.5. So let's go to 82, tabbing to 75, tabbing to 0.5, and then leave 0 alone, and that should be my Viper Dark. Let's see what I've done to it now. Let's pull this down, and let's see where it actually went. 82, let me make sure my numbers are right. 82, 75.5, oh, it's at 0. I left it at 0. That's very funny. I left it at 100, okay? So let's double click, let's go to here. Let me make sure that's Viper Dark. Okay, if you can see the top of your screen, it actually has the Viper Dark up here. And although, let me see if I did something here. Greater this one. I'm going to tell you that I could have eliminated all the colors from this color palette. I'm not going to, but I could have, because all I need are the colors that are the Viper Dark and the Viper Light for this whole thing, pretty much. Okay. But the Viper Dark is up here, and if I hold my icon over it, you can see if I take it away and put it back, it says Viper Dark. So obviously this is still Viper Dark. All right. So what I want to do is actually double click this Viper Dark here, and I want to adjust this to 0, which I should have done. And now that's the true Viper Dark. Command S to save the file. Let's go make the Viper Light. So I go to Viper Light. And in Viper Light, I'm going to adjust my colors as 25, 13, 4, and 0.5. And I won't click away from it. 25, tabbing to 13, tabbing to 4, tabbing to 0.5. And I'll check yours when that's comma 5, Brian, 0.5. And let's say, okay, now there's my Viper Light. And now my Viper Light and my Viper Dark are up here in my swatches palette very nicely. Command S to save the file. Now it says to reselect the Big and Brutal headline. Okay, I reselected it. Now it wants me to make the following edits. I'll put it down here so we can see it. No need to make it bigger on screen because it'll make it bigger just right now. I'm going to bring over my character palette so we can see the edits that I'm going to make to this, and I will move my character palette off the screen in a minute. Okay. The font is Impact, so all I really have to do is type in Impact, and Impact is there. Now let's click, and you can see how I've made Impact. Now that obviously got me to this long list of stuff. If you're at home, choose something that is wide and narrow. All right, just like the Impact when you see it. Hopefully you can just download Impact. You could probably Google Impact typeface and just get it. It's at 100 points. So let's go to 100 points. And now let's make sure, I'll move this down or over. You know what I'll do this time? I'm going to shrink up this and keep the character palette open for just a momento. And now stroke. The stroke is Viper Dark at 2 points. So the fill is white. Let's just keep the fill white. And the stroke is going to be Viper Dark, which now I've made, at my stroke of 2 points. Okay, now I'm going to leave it selected, and I want to leave it selected like this. The position is shown using the transform palette, which in your handout is on the right. The headline must be selected, not not with the text tool, but just with the direct select. Or actually, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hit the V key so you can see the bounding box, okay? Didn't matter, I just wanted you to see the bounding box on screen. This means we are using the lower left anchor point. Now, in the transform palette, it means to click the lower left proxy. Now you can see up here where I'm circling, I've clicked the lower left proxy. In this one, it is 1 on X, tabbing to 9 on Y, and now that is shot to the exact right place. Now look in my headline layer how I have a big and brutal here, Command S to save the file. It wants you to ignore the width and the height because you've already done the width. I don't want you to resize the width and the height in the transform palette. Number 2, expand the headline layer, pick up big and brutal and drop it into the new layer icon. Look what I'm doing. I am dropping it in. Now, double click the lower big and brutal and name it BB Shadow. Command S to save the file. Notice how many times I do actually save the file. Now on this one, it wants us to leave the font at 100, fill as black, stroke as none. Now I'm going to turn off the visibility for the upper one. Didn't look like anything went away, but now the only thing there, look, is the lower one. I'm not going to lock anything at this point because I don't have to, but I'm going to click the circle, or I could have clicked it over here. Now it said the stroke is none and the fill is black. So let's go up to the fill of black. Now the position is going to be, and I'm sorry, it's going to be, and you have to make sure you have now switched your proxy to the lower right hand proxy. Now this one goes X of 7.75. Make sure you have done that, and tab yourself to 8.875. 8.875. I just made it real slow and I'm fine. Now I can hit the tab key and now it's in exactly the right place. If I turn on the headline, you'll see how it's in exactly the right place. Command S to save the file. Fine. Create a new layer and call it subhead. Okay, let's create a new layer, double click it and call it subhead. And now that I've done it and it's spelled right and I don't look like an idiot, I'm going to lock up headline and I'm going to compress headline. So now I have subhead. Unlock the pasted text layer. I have done that, and I'll click to the pasted text layer and I'll move over to the text over here and I'll get close to that text on screen so you can see it. And it wants you to copy the subhead with your text tool or the T key, but please get Luxury Sports and only get to the R. Do not get any more than what I've gotten. Do not go like that and get that little extra space. Okay, let's go like this. Command C, click away. Let's go back over here. Let's lock up pasted text and click to the subtext layer before we actually hit click the text tool and hit Command V to paste. Now I'm going to select it with the direct selection tool. I'll get a little bit closer so we can watch this one go in. Here it is way down there, really small on the screen. I'm now on number 11 and I'm going to go to number 12. It says to use the transform palette. It's impact Roman at 24 points and 50 on the tracking. So let's do everything that it says to do. It says it's impact. Remember, you can just type it in. And it's impact Roman, which is impact regular now, I suppose. And let me make sure. Yeah, it's just impact regular. That's no big deal. And let's go to 24 points. And let's go to 50 on the tracking. So over here to the tracking, it actually calls itself what? It calls itself set the tracking, not range tracking, which I always make a mistake on. And now I have it correct. Command S to save the file. Now it says lower right proxy, and it says X is going to be, if you look at number above number 13, number 12, 7.75 and 8.5. So 7.75 tabbing to 8.5, hit the return key, and now that shoots exactly where it should shoot. Command S to save the file, lock the subhead. Okay, now let's go to 14. Create a new layer and call it main photos. Okay, I'm good. Create a new layer. Let's call it main photos. Now it's yellow. You would never see yellow on the screen, so I'll also make it blue. And now let's hit Command S to save the file. Now it says Lock up all other layers and leave it as selected. File place and locate the Viper photos. The first image is the GTS Blue Over the Hill gradient. And after it's placed on the artboard, select the correct proxy and position as indicated in X and Y, which is over to your side. It might be kind of small, but actually I wrote it on the bottom if you look at number 15. So let's go to File Place. Do you know that this used to be Command D, just like in InDesign, but they took it away? I'll never know why they took it away. Now let's go over here and let's just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it on screen. That what we're looking for, I'll move it over just a little bit, is the GTS Blue Over the Hill gradient. So let's go right there to the GTS Over the Hill gradient, and that's fine. And now let's take this one and go to 2.5 and 5.5, but the proxy is going to be the lower left proxy. So let's go to, I already forgot because I'm old, 2.5 tabbing to 5.5 and hit the return key. And now that didn't seem like it went in right. 2.5 and 5.5. Just a minute. Oh, did I have to scale it? Wait a minute. I think that I just might have it in the exact right location. I do. It's exactly where it's supposed to go. A little bit is supposed to go above the screen. So that's fine. Just leave it there. I should have said that on the handout, so no big deal. Repeat the same steps for the Blue Over the Hill letters. Make sure that your layers are in the proper stacking order. Lock and hide the main photos layer. So let's go to Command D. I'm sorry, it's not Command D. It should be Command D. And let's go to the letters one. So let me move this way out as far as I can. And let's go to the Blue Over the Hill letters. Leave it on your screen the way it is. And then it tells us to lower left 2.5 and 5.5, same thing. So this should match up perfectly. 2.5 tabbing to 5.5, and now that should match up exactly where it is supposed to go. Now, let me see if I tell you to move this layer down. Realize that you are looking at two separate images. Create a new layer, name it, remember the reference. Refer to the image for the layer stacking order. I think I'll go back to my other ones. Let me hit the tab key. And actually, let's go to the handout and let's go to the layer stacking order, which is right there. So it goes headline, subhead, drop cap, pasted text, body text. The main photos are all the way on the bottom. So let's go to headline, subhead, and no drop cap. So let's go headline on the top. Let's go close that one. I don't know why I did that. Whoops. Brian just put headline inside something else. I didn't mean to, and that's something you're going to do all the time. Make sure you have it up on top, headline, subhead, main photos go all the way at the bottom, and now you can see the stacking order of what I have on the screen looks much better. Whoops, why did I do that? Okay, let's go down a little bit, Command S to save the file, and now let's go to number 16. Create a new layer, name it Shapes and Graphics. So let's go to a new layer, let's double click it, Shapes and Graphics. Okay, fine. Oh, magenta, that'll be all right. I guess you can see that on screen. Shapes and Graphics. Now it wants me to open my first guide that I created, that you guys created in Guide 2. Hold, and if you're doing this online and you don't have it, I put a file in there and I'll show you what it is. You can either go to your Guide 2 file, I'll hit the tab key and I'll say, I put a Guide 2 paths in the student folder or in the zipped folder, so you all can do this. Now let me go like this, and it tells you right here, select all your paths, edit, copy, and do not save the file. So let's go Command C. Let's won't click away from that, but let's go back to Brian's example here. Click over here, hit the tab key, and Brian is going to make sure Shapes and Graphics is totally selected, and edit, paste, Command V, and now I have my Shapes and Graphics. Now I'm going to make sure everything else is locked up, including main photos. The only thing I want unlocked at this point is the Shapes and Graphics layer. I think I'll turn off the visibility on everything else except for the guides so that you can see just those shapes as I have them on screen, and I'm not going to get closer to them. I'm just going to leave them right there. Let's open the Shapes and Graphics layer, and they paste it in as just nice paths like this, okay? All separate paths. Now in my handout, did I say that said they pasted in as compound shapes? In order to have an art image clipped or masked by more than one shape, the shapes have to be selected first and then made into a compound path. We're going to be pasting in one image to more than one shape. So for Illustrator to recognize that 3 or 2 shapes are actually one shape, you have to make a compound group of them, or a compound path of them. In the proper order, let's go ahead and do that and follow step 18, please. Click on the shapes and graphics layer, paste the shapes, select. Okay, number 17, I skipped where I split the shapes apart, and I just snapped them into the actual guides. So I'm going to go to the group tool of the direct select. If you look at what I'm doing, I'm going to hold down, notice how I can't marquee this. Let me make sure this is on screen. Notice how I can't just marquee those shapes like this and get them because I'll touch the bottom shapes. Now what I could do is just find out where those shapes are here and just go over to here and click on them all. But I don't want any open points. So the trick is that you could shift click all of these circles here and that'd be fine. But I'm going to go to the direct select group tool, which is the option key with the direct select, and just touch a little bit of them. If you touch a little bit of them with the group tool, they are truly all there. I'm going to hit the E key so I can grab it inside and just shove this right in, and look at how nicely it snaps right into that side. Now I'll just marquee this side right over here, make sure all the points are solid, and just let it snap over on that side. That's all I wanted you guys to do. Now if I'm going to snap to guides, let me make sure that snap to guides is on, which I don't think it is. Smart guides, snap to grid, snap to grid, snap to point. Let's go to snap to point. So let me move this over, and now let's go like this, and nope, let's go to, sorry, not snap to point. There should be snap to guides. Let's go to smart guides. Let's see if smart guides let it snap right in. It is, but it isn't. I don't like smart guides. I'm going to turn those off. There used to be a snap to guides, which was a simple thing. Let me see what they are. Release guides, clear guides, snap to grid. I don't think snap to grid is going to be it, but I'll just do it anyway. I'll go over here and I'll snap it. No. So I'll just forget it, and I'll just get close to this, and I'll manually put my cursors on here, and I'll snap this in, doing it this way. Up and over. Okay, that's nice. Okay, and let's go to the other side and make sure that the other side is right where it's supposed to be. And let me get close to the other side and up a little bit, actually, Brian. Okay, perfect. Now let's save the file. And now you can see how I have everything on screen the way that I want it on screen. It's fine. And now I can do number 18. The image below will identify the images you need and how they are positioned within various compound shapes. In order to have an image, I already said, those shapes have to be made into a compound path. Then the image has to be placed, scaled, and positioned to the desired settings. I will outline how to do the first clipping group. Refer to step 20 for the other clipping groups. Okay, so what I want, look, if you can look down what I've done on number 18, I've shown you how to actually click on the various shapes, and then you have to actually go make your compound paths. So let's read number 19. The image to the right shows the needed shapes without the other shapes visible. Expand the parent layer, which I've already done over here. You can see them all. You will have to experiment to see which ones are needed. Select all 6 of the shapes and rename them solid color group. So if I grab the direct select tool and I click onto this and I click this one, I can tell it's this one is a solid color group. Look what I'm doing. I'm going to switch to hold the shift key on this one down here. Then I'm going to hold the shift key on the bottom shape over here. Then let's keep on going on the upper 2 shapes. So 1, let me get it, 1 and 2. And now it's the third one from the bottom right there. Now that is supposed to be the solid color group. So all you have to do, select the ship shapes, group them, Command G, and rename that one solid color group. And that's your first one. So let's go in order, but name it exactly what it's supposed to be. And let's go like this now, and you see how you have the solid color group. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this movie right after I do these groups and I put the pictures in them. And this will be part 1, and then I'll continue on with part 2. Okay? This one wants you to have a 2-color gradient going from Viper Light to Viper Dark. So let's go down. Since it's a solid color group, let's remove the stroke from it. You have to remember to move the stroke. And I'm going to click any gradient that's available. Now, in my gradient palette, let me make sure I have my gradient palette on screen right there. In my gradient palette, I'm going to drop, let's go from the bottom to the top with the G key. So the bottom is going to be the Viper Dark for me. The top or the other side is going to be the Viper Light. I don't care how you do it, just put the right one in the right one. So let's go now put the dark color on the bottom, which is going to be here. Would have made sense if I would have gone the other way, but that's just me. And now everything is cascaded across them. I hit Command S to save the file and lock up the solid color group. Remember, I took the stroke off. All right, save the gradient. Oh, I want you to actually save the gradient as gradient solid shapes. So if I go over to here and move it over to the gradient palette and double click it, I'm allowed to name that gradient. And it goes, I wanted you to name it as gradient _ solid color shapes. Rather lengthy name, Mr. Sorial. Fine. And now I have my gradient. If you look over here, that is saved for the printer or whomever as gradient solid color shapes. I'm going to close the gradient palette or put it off to my other side of the screen. Thank you. Now, remember that the gradient tools, oh, never mind. Okay, I say that. I was reading number 19 on the first and last drag. Do not group the other clipping groups. They will group automatically. I'll say it again. If you go to step 20, the rest of them do not use Command G. The rest of them are made into a compound group or a compound path. They will automatically themselves make the word group. So it says, let's begin with the top left group. I will first show how the finished clipping group at right. This group uses the following steps. Let's put the file in the middle of the screen. Okay. So let's go to File, Place, and it wants us to get the GTS blue front angle. So let me move this over just so you all can see it. Sounded southern there, didn't I? GTS blue front angle is right there. Hit Place. Just leave it right there. That's fine. Scale immediately to 50%. So double click the scale button over there and make sure it's on uniform at 50%. Now, whoops. It would be helpful if I didn't do something wrong. That did not scale. Let's go like this and put in 50%. What did I hit? Cancel? Oh, I must have hit cancel. Okay, let's go like this and just put it anywhere. And now it's going to want us to place it by hand. Okay, now let's leave it where it is. Select the second, third, and fourth shapes only. So if I go to the group tool, if I'm in the direct select tool and I hold the option key, look at how I can just marquee these shapes and now only those shapes select. Go to Object, Compound Path, and Make. I'll do this the first time, but I want you to do it a different way. Object, Compound Path, Make. Now if you look over here, there is a compound path that has been formed. I'm going to double click it and I'm going to call it top, even though I'll have to do it again. Top left, what did I say? Top left group. Even though it's not exactly, I'm actually going to copy that word so I don't have to type it again in a minute. Command C. Just wanted you to see that's our top left group. Now it says number 4, position the image in the figure below. It must be arranged below the shapes. So right now, if you look at my layer palette, the GTS blue front image is in the Shapes and Graphics layer, but it's at the top. I'm going to take the top left group and put it above it. Not below it, but above it. Now I'm going to click on the circle here, and I'm going to hit the E key, and I'm going to position this just like this. Now, you can hardly see it on screen, and let me get close to it, but you can kind of tell the image that's in behind it. I'll select the image so you can see there it is. Don't worry about the placement as of yet. And remember, in your handout guide, I have shown you exactly, let me go to the exact, more or less the exact placement of this one. Now this is page 6, so let me go ahead to page 6. Thank you for your support. Do you see this right over here? And let me get close. Do you see the final placement? It's okay, and you can have any choice you want, but there's the final placement. So let me minimize this, and let's just put it roughly in the same position. It was where the mirror actually hits. Whoops, I grabbed the wrong thing. Let's click on the circle for the image, Mr. Sorial, and grab the image and move it so that the mirror is actually somewhat near that point. Look. See how the mirror just touches this point right there? Let's go and do the mirror just so it pretty much touches that. Got to see it one more time. The mirror is right there. Okay, fine. I see it. And the top of the mirror is right here. And right there, and right there, and right there. Okay, now that's pretty close. I'm going to leave it right there. You can adjust it in a few minutes. Now, here's what the handout guide says. Yes, it's positioned below. It must be arranged below. You can either adjust it later. Select with the selection tool the compound shapes and shift-click the car image. So just make sure both images over there are grabbed. Okay. Now we are going to go make a clipping mask. So I go to Object, Clipping Mask, which instead of Command 8, it's Command 7. They did that nicely. And now there's your image inside. Now look up here how I have my new group. Remember I said I was going to have to retype it? I just wanted you to see how I'm going to double click it and Command V in the name, and now I have the top right group. Now when I want to grab the picture, I am going to go over to here and click the circle for the picture, hit the E key, and do you see how I can gently move the picture around the image? You want to make sure you do not move the compound shapes, but those are on that sublayer and the picture is on that sublayer. So I'm going to hit Command S to save the file, lock up the top left group, and now I'm going to lock it. Now I'm going to go ahead off screen and I'm going to do the other ones, and I'll come back on, and just like I made sure that on step 21 you did the bottom left group, the top right group, the bottom right group, I'll show you what I did on screen. Just place them. Make sure the image, when you get it done, make sure the image is on the is beneath the paths once you select them, and you can get it ready. Maybe I'll do one more of just getting it ready. So you will repeat step 21. You will repeat the 6 steps of step 20 for the clipping paths. Use the other ones below. So let's do the bottom left group. So let's go ahead and do the GTS Blue 2-shot. Okay, so let me go down like this. Let's go place in the 2-shot. GTS Blue 2-shot. I wish it wouldn't do that. Let me go like this so you can just see it. I wish it would give me a little bit more, but the 2-shot's right down there. So let's go like this. Now I've conveniently said scale to 75%. So I go like this to scale, 75%. Mr. Sorial, hit the return key now. This one is the left 6 and 7 right there. So let me hit the A key and hold the Option key. Now I've got both of those shapes right there. All I have to do is make both of those shapes, look at the layer palette over there, into a Command 8. Now Command 8 is Object, Path, Compound Path Make. Okay, Object, Compound Path Make. But now I've got it. Now that compound path I'm not going to rename at this moment because it's the other one I have to name bottom left group. So without moving the shapes, let's click on the picture, the new picture, the GTS Blue. Let's hit the E key. Let me go back to this file here so you can see where they are supposed to be positioned. Here, whoops. Here is where they are supposed to be positioned. Let me go down in size one more time. And there is how they are supposed to look. Or is that? Yes. That is the bottom left group. Now, obviously I'm only seeing one of the cars. The other car I show in another place. So let's just get a picture of that where the top hood, the stripe of the top hood right there touches that wave on that corner. So the stripe of the top hood touches that wave. So let's go here and let's go to that wave right there. Let me move the picture below the compound path. Now it's actually below the compound path. That's perfect. And now that stripe goes right up and touches God, you think I would have a memory here. That stripe, there's just a little bit left over of that wave up there. And you can position it. Okay, I'm almost there. Let's go right there. Okay, that's just about right there. Now, all we have to do is make it into, I barely have enough picture. Let me move it down right there. Perfect. Now, let's just Command click or Shift click both of these circles and hit Command what to make a clipping mask. Command 7. Now, that group you can restack when you get it all finished, but let's double click it, and this one's called bottom left group. I'll take one more second out, click my file. Let's go down to see the layer stacking order of those. And whoops, it's at the actual right there. And let's go see the layer stacking order. Top left group and bottom left group are the two that are nearest the bottom. So let's go to take the top left group and the bottom left group. Top left group goes down here for now, and that's where I'm going to leave them for right now. All right, you finish off the top right group, finish off the bottom right group, and then we will go ahead and I will also do step 22 and get us ready for the body text on number 23. And then I'll join you back on this file when you do 22 by yourself. I'll review 22, but I'll have it all set and in position. Okay, so Command S to save the file. I'll see you in a minute.